Good day, everyone. I hope you guys are having a stocular day. I hope everything's going very well. Today is the episode of Ramble Shrapnel. As if you guys probably clicked on this, I'll be surprised if you thought it was going to be a Ramble Shrapnel, Ramble Shamble podcast. That is such a tongue twister. I challenge you guys to say it. But yes, today this is the bits and pieces of our main episode of SCP Foundation, and today I'm joined with the typical common person to come along with us is Jotun, and a more special guest, someone that we hope to have an episode sooner or later to our main episode, Jwlz. Hi, Jwlz.
Hello. Hello. Again. I'm always one to jump the gun, you know?
No, that's great. So Jwlz, a little background. Ramble Shrapnel is a very little bits and pieces of the main episode. So we talk about the main episode, which has been out for quite a while now, with the SCP Foundation, where we spoke about our favorite SCPs. Where I mentioned that one of my favorite SCPs was, I believe it was Infinite IKEA. And not
Oh yes, the one where the employees kept on killing those people inside it.
so Not a Nerd was speaking about the toaster, and Jotun was speaking about how his big fear of monkeys and also Bigfoot.
Oh yes.
So I'm not sure why Jotun has such a fear.
You mean SCP-1000?
Pithecophobia.
Yes. So
Nice, you remember.
Yeah,
that.
I've learned a lot of words from you, dude.
so this is where
That's what I'm here for. My fount of knowledge spews onto the audience.
Spews.
very much so.
That's a very evocative word
Flows.
there.
Flows. It washes them. It bathes
Oh,
them.
does it? Like
in
much like a
knowledge.
golden shower.
So that's why this little bits and pieces are so handy for people who are new, someone that's not quite willing to sit down for the full hour, and we kind of give them like a brief glimpse of what we can talk about all our rambles and shambling along with everything. So of this, on Ramble Shrapnel, we pick one of the audiences, based on that we choose the best one, and this one comes from Raspberry Pi, a past Twitch streamer, a close friend of myself, and his question was quite interesting. Not necessarily his favorite SCP, so he didn't quite answer the question 100%, but his question was, what is the SCP, and do you think there would be that kind of real foundation in the real world? And that got myself, and I'm sure Jotun as well, very interested to kind of relay our infinite information about SCP Foundation and bask in our glorious light of everything we know about the SCP Foundation. But Jwlz, how much do you know about the SCP Foundation?
Right, so my knowledge is quite limited. All I know is that it does stand for Secure, Contain, and Protect.
Brilliant.
I am knowledgeable about what you guys were talking about in your previous episode about the SCP. I was actually under the impression that there was some sort of foundation that existed in the real world called the SCP. That was what I got from your episode in any case. And so I was kind of hoping there was one.
No, there is one.
Oh, there is?
one.
Okay, fantastic.
Oh, yes.
Well then...
Those are true stories.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Those things are out there.
I'm so glad that toasters of that type of those elements of a toaster can really come into play when you are getting shoved up your
And the famous word that we made from that episode, the shugnut. Oh, you must definitely.
The shugnut.
The shugnut. Can't forget about that shugnut. So definitely, the most important thing for obviously this episode is, I think what we're going to talk about is the possibilities, the science, the why we think the SCP Foundation could be real, and as well as just a brief explanation. So, Jotun, I know you love to give details and facts, so I'll chip in maybe at the end of it, but tell us, what is the SCP Foundation, and why do you think it's important for humanity's survival?
Okay, so the SCP Foundation it's not a governmental body. It's like a private organization that finds what they call SCPs, like as their case. They call it an SCP and a case number, and basically those are anomalies or phenomena in the real world that have weird effects on reality. And Because of this, there's like a system for approaching these anomalies and a classification for determining the extent to which they affect reality and the difficulty that people go through in order to try keep them under control. And normally that entails like secluding them in some kind of dark vault, basically. But because of their anomalous natures, every single vault or cell needs a special procedure, which they call special containment procedure, to keep them under control. Now, that could be like super thick lead walls or like a force field or something, or it can be something as easy as, okay, this isn't easy, but like keeping an eye on it, or just making sure that it's washed every day or something. Sometimes it can be silly little things like that, but sometimes you really need to keep that stuff clamped down.
Yes.
But that's about it. And the reason why it's so important is because people, okay, now to get away from the whole real world fact of it, because it is a fictional creation, what makes it so important is that it really showcases why something like the internet is so powerful, because creators from across the globe can, in a very synchronistic manner, create one body of lore together and add to it without there being any kind of copyright or anything like that. It's just people having lots of fun and waxing their creative juices into a beautiful mold that everybody can admire and sculpt together. And sometimes it's chipped away from, but mostly it's additive. So it's just a great example of the potential of human creativity. Yeah.
So, in the summary of that, so SCP Foundation is basically Earth's mightiest protectors. There's different levels in the SCP Foundation, going from the D class being the guinea pigs of their science experiments, because you have to have human test subjects somehow. I don't think any of us would like to be a human test subject, although some tests could be nice, but most of them lead to fatal deaths. But the SCP has always been a bit of a grey area, so they're not willing to share most of the stuff. So when there's an anomaly, that thing that goes around, they have to kind of defend that against the normal day, because our feeble little human minds, even yours, Jwlz, can't comprehend.
Especially yours, Jwlz.
Wow,
we can't take the fact that if these things come into like the real world, they will break our minds or they'll kill everyone around us. There's like certain SCPs, like SCP-096, who if you merely see a picture through photograph or see his face, basically he'll get you no matter where you are. If you're in space or you're in the deepest depths of the ocean, he will come and kill you. It's impossible to stop him. He's immune. So there's certain SCPs like that, which also is important to know, which we did mention in the main episode, of the different classes SCPs are typically ranked. There's Keter, Euclid, and as well Safe.
Safe. Yeah.
So, now a common misconception is the fact that people think that Keter means that it determines the danger level of the SCP. No. Those three classifications determines how difficult it is to contain that said entity. So SCP-096 that I mentioned before, I believe it's 096. I might be horribly wrong, which I apologize. No, it's 0.96. He is classified as Euclid, even though he could destroy the whole world with very little problem. The SCP that's known as Peanut, if you guys don't know the slang terms for the SCPs that have been given over time, he's a sculpture that if you don't look at him, he will snap your neck. Basically, you have to have eyes on this kind of entity continuously. He's marked as Keter, but the only reason is that his container is cell that they put him into degrades over time. He emits this like poo-like substance, feces substance, that covers the walls of this container and degrades the container, so it's impossible to hold him securely for long periods of time. Safe, that means that you can put this thing in a cupboard and lock it and walk away. It's perfectly contained. That is a very interesting insight of like a lot of people think like, hey, Keter means that as the world ender, all that kind of different things. But the cool thing about SCP, it's not like just limited to our planet and our Earth. There's even SCPs that like talk about the devil as an SCP, like a real life devil. Like Jotun mentioned before, it's just like such an open world of imagination and ideas just coming together to make this mutant of an anomaly. Some of them being horribly disgusting and graphic, and some being moderately okay, and some of them being like actually like saying, "Dang, I wish I could meet that thing in real life."
I'm a big fan of the SCPs that actually use a lot of the biblical lore as well, because for example, one of the nominations for the SCP-001 is an angel who is said to guard the Garden
Yes.
of Eden when they were banished, and he's basically a colossal titan of an angel with a massive flaming sword, and somehow the SCP Foundation contains him as well. But it's just so cool. Another really cool one is the SCP case files on Cain and Abel.
Oh.
It's really awesome. But all the massive like world-ending SCPs like that are super cool as well. Like there's the massive one that's under the ocean is basically Jörmungandr from Norse mythology.
Yes.
It's so cool. The SCP is super fascinating, guys. I highly encourage you to go check out their wiki, because a lot of the time they have the web pages integrated into their story in some way. And so you have to click certain places to reveal certain features or to play a little video or something. And so it's extremely interactive. And to hear like verbal narrations of the SCPs are super great as well. But you can't beat actually exploring the SCP wiki yourself.
So Jwlz, now that we've given you quite a big background on SCP, that your brain's probably brimming with knowledge, are there any questions that might come in your mind, like you would like us to clarify for you? Since you are probably the best representation of the audience at this stage. We've given a lot of information. It's quite a bit all over there. Do you have anything that comes to your mind that you would like to know about the SCP Foundation? Or, in my opinion, Area 51.
Oh, okay. Well, since you say Area 51, what other examples do we have of real-life institutions that could be quote-unquote represented as an SCP?
Oof, difficult question. So you're talking about like different institutions, like
So Area 51, maybe the KKK,
MI6, the KGB,
MI6, like Jotun said earlier, the MIB.
Well, I definitely think like to start off, like I consistently refer to, or I constantly think back to Rick and Morty, where the president of the United States has that like full under when Rick was fighting the president to get a selfie for Morty. Basically, he goes down to this like sub basement and they have all these like little test machines and this like secret hideout of their dirty history. So there's a lot of rumors that go beyond the fact that there's a president's secret. If you watch National Treasure, there's a book where the president has, and basically contains the biggest controversies and secrets of the world. And only the president of the United States, which might not work at this stage, because I think Donald Trump, being such a Twitter madman as he is, sorry Donald if you're listening to this, he would
not sorry.
He would most likely take pictures of this book and then like send like a page a day or something like that. So I'm pretty sure this book can't be real unless whoever holds the power over that knew that Donald Trump would have done that kind of thing and then they kept it away. But another thing before I end is, I'm not sure if you guys, Jwlz, have you watched the Netflix series called Inside Job?
Inside Job.
I recommend it because it's basically like a spin-off of like Futurama, but it really focuses on the facts like SCP. I watched this series and it's just like, whoa, this is like SCP, but like put it into actual series kind of thing, where there's the lizard people, the mole people, and they're all like, there's a higher power above human society that molds society in a certain way, that they control the leaders, our leaders in a way. And I definitely think there's something like that, like the Illuminati. That's something that could be real. What do you think, Jotun?
Actually, wait a minute. I have watched Inside Job.
Yes. So you know SCP then. That's basically SCP.
Oh wow. Okay. Sorry, I interrupt you. Sorry, Jotun. You can continue.
Yeah, I do think that, well, it depends on how literally you take the term or the name of this thing. But I do think that there is like not a book per se, but like a body of knowledge where weird phenomena was definitely recorded in some way. And this happens to be by the United States Air Force. And that's Project Blue Book. So depending on how literally you want to take the term blue book, there's definitely like systematic recordings of UFOs and like proper, let's just say, specialists in ufology. But I put to you that there's in fact another big body of like, okay, maybe not dodgy people, but definitely a big organization that could have a lot of weird things in their vaults, let's say. And I think that that's the Catholic Church.
Very true.
Yeah. So I don't think that it's per se necessarily these relics of the saints or anything like that. But I definitely think that there's stuff about the old ancient world, which could be relics from other cultures or even things that they got from their exorcisms and stuff that they believe can only be housed in the Vatican because only the Vatican is holy enough to contain it or something like that. But I definitely think that there's just like basically a Vatican version of the Louvre, which has artifacts and relics down there that they keep secret because they don't want knowledge about pagan cultures and things that could actually inspire belief in those pagan cultures again to get out there. So I think that they suppress it there. And there's definitely so much, even Abrahamic religion knowledge that they keep down there as well. Like the Apocrypha that weren't included in the 66 books of the Bible, things about the Talmud and the Torah that they aren't including. Yeah, no, dude. The Vatican is definitely a dodgy organization in my opinion.
Well, I actually...
Yeah, we don't really know what's in the archives are, do we?
Nope, we don't. But to be honest, I think we're all in SCP.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because SCP basically contains anomalies, and I think we're like in one big simulation like the Matrix, but like in Sims version, where there's a fifth or fourth dimensional being clicking with a mouse wheel of like their hand and telling us to go do poop, go eat, go do this, and we're just all one big game to them, to the fourth or fifth dimensional beings.
Well, I think you're getting a bit close to the idea of ideas having people instead of people having ideas. Yeah. And that for me is a super interesting concept. So in as much as that, we could definitely be SCPs.
What do you think, Jwlz? Are we SCPs or not?
I think people are weird. And if we start to define ourselves as SCPs, I was actually watching this earlier. Not necessarily an SCP, but I was watching a Rick and Morty episode, season 5, episode 2, which is basically about how the decoys don't know they're decoys, and therefore they create more decoys. If we start to go down this rabbit hole of, oh, we are SCPs, so we must have created more SCPs, but then those SCPs create SCPs, then I think it takes away all the magic. I think SCPs are literally just things that are A, not human, and B, exist supernaturally and are inexplicable by science. That's quite literally the definition. So we should keep it like that, because we, as humans, we are explainable by science.
No,
Wow.
explicable works too.
We are.
Yeah.
Does it too? Oh, wow. Okay, I thought inexplicable was the only way you could use that word.
Well,
but yes,
I think
that's what I
Jwlz is the
believe.
voice of reason between myself and Jotun.
Seconded.
I really hate that he is, because he probably will take over this podcast. Everyone's now going to start joining because he now speaks to us every now and again, graces with his parents. But guys, that is the end of this short little nitpick of an episode. If you guys were sad, don't be sad, because there's full episodes in our Ramble Shrapnel accounts, where you can listen to myself, Jotun, Not a Nerd, speak about this whole episode for a good hour and a bit. Or there's other episodes that might be of interest to you. But guys, again, we have different social medias that we really appreciate your support on. Give it the highest rating, highest likes, highest subscribe, highest everything you can possibly give it. I'm being very energetic with this because we need your guys' energy to really boost the awareness of our little podcast channel. We have a Discord channel that we would love to see grow, where you guys can join, chat, game, share artwork, share ideas, and just really become this big family of Ramble Shamblers, or whatever ways we want to call you guys.
Make us sound like zombies.
Well, we do shamble along quite a bit, so. But again, guys, we really appreciate listening to this. Again, you can find us on Twitter, YouTube. We put this on Spotify. If you probably listen to this, Apple. And again, the best way to find out what's happening with this is to be part of our community. But that is enough from me. I'm gonna say bye from my side.
Are we supposed to? Okay, yeah. Okay, bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
That's how we like to have it. Stays in the edit.